So we bring in our analyst, Evan Washburn now. Evan, I just want to go broad, like initial reaction. You see the NCAA decides fifth year, we're going to let everybody get an extra year eligibility. What was your initial thought?
I'm happy. I just think it allows people to make decisions. And look, we're going to get into it. And I know smart people have already really dove into how complicated, convoluted, cloudy, pick your adjective, this will be for administrators, coaches, and the athletes themselves. But I'm just a big believer in the power of the ability to make a decision and not have it just ripped away from you, which is what happened to so many players this spring in a variety of sports. But for our focus, lacrosse, and you and I spoke a few weeks ago, and I just put myself in those players' shoes, and I got a taste of it, as I mentioned, because my career ended on senior day, and that was as hard enough to deal with. But I got the whole season basically, and so to have it happen the way it did this year, I'm happy that they now have the power to a degree to make a decision. I think some decisions may be made for them, and that's where the numbers get a bit murky.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this before. I'm guessing there are probably some athletic administrators and coaches around the country that probably aren't thrilled with the NCAA because it now falls on them. They got to figure it out, whether it's a school issue or a conference issue. But the option is there for student athletes, and I think that's important. The question now becomes, how do you deal with the scholarship money? Because if you're a fully funded program, you got on the men's side, you got 12.6 scholarships. And now they're saying that these seniors, if they come back and they get scholarships, that can go over that limit as a one-year exception. How many schools and like what percentage of it are going to be good to go over that limit and allow a lacrosse team to carry a bunch of seniors that want to come back along with the limit that they already pay for?
I mean, that was a lot, but I know what you're saying. Basically, how many programs can afford to go over their limit? And I don't think it's a lot because not a lot of schools are even at the limit. I don't know the exact numbers, but if I go back 10 years to when I was playing, it was the top tier, and I'm sure it's grown since then. And there's other aspects to this where some universities are dealing with donorships and donors that can help mitigate some of the costs on the programs, and that goes down to as basic as helmets, and jerseys, and cleats. But I don't think it's a large number of schools that are going to be game, especially with where we are economically and the potential loss of income and revenue from the NCAA tournament in college basketball and what that did for schools and what it does for the NCAA, and then whatever possibly happens in college football if there's mitigated or lost revenue there. So I think it's probably easy to say that your big-time programs, athletic programs, your Ohio States, UNCs, Marylands, Duke will be able to manage this bit better than places like, well, I'll just speak for, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would think University of Delaware could be in a precarious spot with this. So that's how I view it.
Well, when you look at this, it's not only just the seniors who are affected. It's everybody has an extra year eligibility that was playing this year, if they like it, including the freshmen and sophomores. So it's a trickle down. How interesting is this going to make not only this 2021 season, but down the line when you've got even more guys competing for spots?
It's going to be a discussion that you and I and everybody around this sport and other spring sports are going to be having. I've really come down, and again, we're constantly finding out new things, and we're going to learn so much more. I mean, it really parallels where we're going, or what we're dealing with as a society right now, where we really don't know that much, but we all want to talk about it, and I understand that, and I respect that, but we're just going to find out so much more in the coming months and years. But I just look at it, I don't think as many players are going to utilize the fifth year as probably we're thinking, for a variety of factors, cost being one of them. They just aren't into lacrosse that much that they want to play 5 years. They want to go on and live their life as a whatever profession they're attacking, whether it be an accountant or a sports announcer or heading to med school, whatever it might be. I think we'll spend a lot of time talking about the elite level players because that's what we do, but we always forget, or I would say I often forget, the amount of players that are playing a college lacrosse that I never watch or never see or never talk about. So I just think the numbers are going to indicate that not as many people are utilizing that fifth year as much as maybe we're thinking. And then it will, and this is an unfortunate reality, if you can afford it or you're willing to hit the student loans up and go into debt, then that's the way you're going to deal with it. Because the scholarships aren't just going to be handed out. Guys aren't going to. Again, it's a select few that get a full ride or even half a ride at even the top schools.
Yeah, I think you're right. Even you look at elite seniors, like 2 or 3 guys coming back, obviously makes an impact on the team, but probably doesn't have the trickle down that's gigantic for the entire sport if you're looking at per team. The one thing I will say that'll be interesting, and maybe it's going to be really hard for the high school seniors right now, because if you're an elite level player who decided they were going to go to a school thinking that you're going to be able to step on the field and play right away, that may not be the case here next year because you're going to have like 2 freshman classes.
And I feel like we've discussed this a little bit just over the course of the last year, and then look, things changed drastically. But this is what it's like to be a top recruit or going through the recruiting process if you're playing major college football or major college basketball. I mean, it's a numbers game at all times. So welcome to the big leagues is the way I would phrase it to juniors and seniors. And it's just going to be more competitive. So deal with it. And look, there's some aspects to this that are obviously rooted in really unfortunate circumstance, but I'm not, at least in the moment, that sympathetic to seniors that maybe were promised, hey, you got a chance to be on the first midfield, and then 2 first midfielders coming back for a 5th year. If you want to go and compete and maybe make second midfield and deal with it, maybe you go and redshirt. I redshirted not because of injury my freshman year, because I wasn't physically and skill-based ready to play, and there was a log jam in front of me. So I spent a year practicing, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was awful. I hated it because you do all the work and you don't get to play, but it benefited me. And that's just the day-to-day life of major college football in the SEC and the Big Ten, and to a degree in college basketball. So that's how I view the high schoolers on this thing.
No, I like that take. And honestly, selfishly, from a media and fan perspective, you put more talent in the pool and have more guys competing for less spots. It only should make the product better.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have a number of storylines, and we've talked about this, I know, and the transfer portal becoming free agency in college sports. That's going to be a big part of it. And I get a taste of this, and you do as well now, starting to cover major college sports and professional leagues as well. It's a whole nother discussion point in the offseason. And look, coaches and administrators, I'm sure, hate it, but I do think, to your point, it's just going to create so much more depth to the coverage of the sport. And if you want to view it in a positive, the other aspect is we're going to get these guys. And then if you look at the women's game as well, women for 4 and 5 years. I mean, college basketball, you get them for a season or 2. I mean, this is just going to add another layer eventually once they kind of sort through what the next 6 to 12 months are. I think that's going to be tough. I do sympathize with how the next 6 to 12 months are. But much like anything else too, Travis, like the good coaches, the good recruiters, the smart programs will figure out a way to make this something that they benefit from.
A lot to sort out in the next several months. It's a brave new world we're living in a lot of different ways, including in the sport of lacrosse. Evan, appreciate the insight.
Yeah, man. Good to be with you.